There was blood all over everything, including the little blonde chick who was holding him up. As usual, Ross had his sheepskin vest on, and as usual, he was mad. Ross was always mad about something. A good bust in the head just gave him a chance to focus his energy. He slumped down on the couch with the chick, beneath the poster that said, "See America First." Stevie ran for a rag. "What happened?" I asked the chick, who was crying and wiping her face and Ross's with the same bloody handkerchief. There was a hell of a lot of blood, but then Ross was a hell of a big boy. He was big enough to be playing football for Ohio State, except that this was Berkeley, and Ross had hair down to his shoulders and was wearing a huge pair of yellow shades. One frame was shattered, and they were lopsided on his nose now as he looked up at me. "Oh," he said, "it's you." "What happened?" I said again. "Up on campus," the chick said. "The governor gave the order to the pigs to break up the picket lines." I tilted my head. "We were keeping people from classes," she added. "At 7 o'clock at night," Ross said. "The motherfuckers. Keeping people from classes at 7 at night." "So the pigs broke it up," the chick said. She had stopped crying and was staring at my clothes. Stevie came back with the rag and started wiping more blood off Ross's face. "Motherfuckers," Ross kept saying. "Quit moving your head," said Stevie. "See it now," Ross said to no one in particular. Suddenly, he tilted his nose in the air and started sniffing. Sniff, sniff. "Goddamn," he suddenly said. "Goddamn morons. You've been smoking again." "Relax," Stevie said. "Goddamn," Ross said. "Now of all times." Stevie and the chick were working on him. Stevie said to her, "Suki, this is Peter. Peter, Suki." "Hello?" Suki said. Her back was to me. She was bent over Ross, putting merthiolate on his head. Her long legs were stretched taut, and they were very brown. "Hello, hello." "You guys are going to screw everything," Ross said. "You're going to get us all busted for sure. Jesus, I think if you have too much of this, it begins to affect your brains. I think—" "Quit moving your head," Stevie said again. He glanced over at me and we exchanged looks. Old Ross. He'd never change. He sat patiently until they had patched up his head, then stumbled off to the bathroom with the chick still supporting him. When they'd gone, Stevie said, "He bought another one." "Oh?" Nothing had changed since the year before. "Yeah, last week." "What was it?" "Shotgun," Stevie said. "Out of sight. What's he got lying around by now?" "I don't know. At least 6. 2 shotguns for sure." "2?" "Yeah. One to replace the automatic. He jammed it last week, and he's having a hard time getting it fixed." I nodded. Seeing as how automatics were illegal, you'd have a very hard time getting one fixed. Besides the fact that none of Ross's guns was registered. But that was the way his head worked. He figured that if he registered his guns, he'd just be tipping them off. The big them. So that when the day of liberation came, they would know about him. Would know to come and get him. He figured that they probably already knew enough about him to come and get him anyway, but just let them try. He was ready. Motherfucking pigs. It probably would have been a cool idea for Ross to keep his guns out of sight if he'd been doing anything, if he'd been a panther or a weatherman, even if he'd been a member of the Sierra Club, anything. But Ross wasn't doing anything, short of letting everyone know what a heavy he was, and knocking out a few token Bank of America windows with the butt of his gun when the inevitable spring riot came to Berkeley. That was why he always cut such a ludicrous figure to me. Ross was a fervent Marxist-Leninist. At least, that's how he thought of himself. He was one of the first people I'd ever met in Berkeley. I'd just been walking down Telegraph, digging the street scene, and he'd looked like he knew his way around, so I'd asked him if he knew where such-and-such Dwight Way was. He lived there, too. We'd been great good friends for an hour or so, which was, I later discovered, about as long as Rossi could function before finding it necessary to pause and consider the state of the coming revolution. So we'd started talking about the